Welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host, Scotty McCoy, and boy, do I have a surprise for all of you. I have on Zoom with me right now Geoffrey Mark, and he is a jazz singer. He is a stand-up comedian, best-selling author, and I'm sure the list goes on and on. I mean, what hasn't this guy done? How you doing, Geoffrey?
So happy to be here with you.
I'm so glad to have you. I know I seen that you were going to be doing an interview with Greg Gilbert from Python's Paradise, and you were interviewing him for his birthday. And I was like, you know what? That's really cool. I would love to have Geoffrey on my show. And that's when I reached out to you.
And here we are. Yeah, I love Greg. I've been on his show, gosh, 8 or 9 times now.
Nice.
And for his birthday, I interviewed him.
Yep, that's amazing because he's a great guy. I've been on his show like 6 times at least. We do it usually every January. I'm on his show, and yeah, he's a great guy. And I mean, he put me in touch with so many people. I put him in touch with some people, and I mean, we became friends for years now. And I mean, I'm glad I met a lot of guests through him, including you. So that's really exciting.
You're gonna forgive. I have a little bit of a black eye.
Okay.
Right here. I didn't want to cover it up with makeup because I wanted to heal. I don't know how I got it. I woke up with it one day, like 3 or 4 days ago, just, what's that? And here we are.
Oh yeah, I always get like black and blue somewhere, and I'm like, how did that happen? Like, where did that come from?
Well, happily, it's not infected or anything. Just I look like somebody gave me a nice buff in the left eye.
Oh, that does it hurt?
A little, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Yeah, I mean, I get so many mysterious black and blues. It's like, where did they come from? Like, I don't remember bumping that or hitting that anyway.
But our friends out there don't care about this. So
exactly.
Let's talk about something they do care about.
Yes, and that is about you. How did you become a jazz singer? How did this all start?
Jazz singing in particular, or my career?
Your career.
Well, gosh, I was a precocious little kid. I was put on the stage when I was 4 at the Garrison Beach Day Camp in Brooklyn, New York. And of course, you know, all of the counselors want money from the parents. So they put on these little shows and put their little darlings in the shows, and the parents give them extra money for doing, I guess.
Right.
And they drew, in those days, a little mustache on my little face and put a beret on me and had me sing Dites-moi from South Pacific.
Nice.
And once I did it once, I wanted to do it forever.
Nice.
So that's where it starts.
Nice. And now you're still doing it, and you have a real mustache.
How about that? Yeah. Aha.
Well, you also you're also a writer and a stand-up comedian. So how did that all come about? How did you get into those?
I think one thing leads into another. I got started professionally doing musicals and plays on the stage. I got started at the Colony 7 Dinner Theater just outside of Washington, D.C., doing Little Abner. I was Mayor Dogmeat. I was 15 years old, coming from a not so happy home, and a dear friend dragged me to an audition. It wasn't a bunch of kids. This was professional dinner theater. They had no idea how old I was.
Right.
I sang in this voice I didn't know I had, and I got cast.
Nice.
The next year I made my first movie, Fighting Mad, with Peter Fonda. The next year I did my first off-Broadway show. The next year I was in nightclubs singing jazz and doing comedy. So I just had so much ambition.
Nice.
And I was on my own because I was kicked out at 15. So I had to make a living. I had no one telling me what I couldn't do, and no one telling me that even in show business, oh, you'll never get anywhere. So since no one told me I couldn't, I did. Yeah. It's a long answer to your short question.
No, but it's true. Like, I mean, it can go either way. Either people are telling you you're never gonna get anywhere and you're gonna give up, or people are going to tell you that you're not going to go anywhere and you're going to try to do it. To prove you wrong.
Lucille Ball once told me, if you want to be in show business, all you're going to hear is failure talk from your teachers, from your parents, from your friends, because nobody believes that somebody they know is going to become a star or a success or make a lot of money or become famous in any way. So all you're going to hear is a negative. She said, you have to have faith in yourself.
Yeah.
Somebody has to get that job, whatever that job is.
Yeah.
It might as well be you. And that's how I chose to look at it, that I had nothing to lose, everything to gain. And I guess I have talent because it was being recognized almost immediately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, like, if you, like, as you know, auditioning, there's the chances of getting a job are slim because there's so many people auditioning, and you're going to get 1,000 no's before you get a yes. But as you mentioned, there's always that somebody has to do that job. And if it's not going to be you, who's to say the next one's not going to be you? There's always that opportunity, there's hundreds of roles out there. And if that means now with the independent industry really becoming big, that's where people can also shine as well if they need to. You don't have to go
but it was the same thing about, you asked how I went from one to another.
Yeah.
Nobody told me that at 17 I couldn't put my own nightclub act together. Nobody told me you can't do jazz singing and stand-up comedy in the same act. So I did it. I did both at the same time because nobody said I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was never afraid of knocking on a door. I was never afraid of saying, here I am, how about me? And I'm the luckiest son of a gun on the planet. In that, more often than not, when I say I'm here, they say, great, come in.
Right.
Of course, I don't get everything I go after.
Exactly.
I don't get, but every book I have sent to a publisher eventually has gotten published.
Yep.
And I think with acting roles, the same percentages everybody else has.
Yeah.
That's probably why I do more singing and comedy and writing than acting, because I don't have to wait for somebody else to cast me. I can get into the project, and I'm sitting here at my desk right now. My desk is full. I've got 3 books I'm working on, a record album I'm going to be producing and performing in. I have a pilot script for a television series I'm working on. My next little tour of singing is going to be, and then shows like yours I'm on all the time. I'm on today alone as we are talking. I'll be speaking with you. I'll be speaking with somebody else later today. I'm recording 2 shows of my own. Geoffrey Mark plays Ella, and I have 2 auditions I have to record all today. So how lucky am I that I get to do all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, you didn't have anybody to tell you no. And you also mentioned that, you because of that reason, you got into it. So if there's somebody out there that is looking to be a stand-up comedian or to be a writer or an actor or get into show business, and they don't know where to start, or they need advice to get their foot in the door, what would that advice be?
Start right where you are, wherever you happen to live, any part of, I don't know how far your show reaches, any part of North America or anywhere on this planet you happen to be where you're watching this. Wherever you are, there's usually some sort of community theater. Nearby where you are, there is probably some sort of a nightclub that does comedy or does music. Figure out what you do best. Figure out where your talent really is. That's the first problem. I think every human being on the planet has a talent. I think God gives everybody stuff. Now, it may be a talent for cooking, or it may be a talent for repairing cars or hitting baseballs or looking great naked, but you have some sort of talent. And the first thing to do is, embrace that. Oh, I got this. Lucky me, and be grateful for it. and then do something with it. But if we're talking about the performing arts particularly, figure out what your talent is telling you to do. And I know that, Jeff, how do you do that? Get together with a pianist, spend a little money, hire somebody for 90 minutes, and just have them play songs and sing and see where your voice lies and what notes sound good to you. What kind of music is calling you? If you're a comedian, start writing jokes. Go watch all. We are so fortunate these days to have so many sources of news and opinions.
Yeah.
Well, spend a day looking at all that stuff, and then what makes you laugh? Where is one of the I Love Lucy writers said, think crooked. Take something that's straight at you and tilt it and make fun of it.
Yeah.
And if it makes you laugh, it'll probably make other people laugh.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out, that's the writing part. The performing part is everybody has to have a comedy point of view, a comedic point of view. Who are you on stage? You can't just be you. There has to be a character. There has to be something you've come up with that makes you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah.
In other words, if you're telling jokes that just anybody could tell, nobody's going to care about you. You want to tell jokes that only you can tell.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can I give you an example?
Go ahead. Absolutely.
So when I was getting started in stand-up, I did my first cabaret show. I guess I was professional one, 17.
Okay.
Well, what kind of comedy do you do at 17? I did not want to go up there and be something I wasn't. Right. I didn't want to do girlfriend jokes or men versus women jokes, because that's not what my life is about. Right. So I thought, well, I need to go up there and be 17.
Yeah. So
you, an audience, need to have a piece of information you're probably too young to know to make the joke work. Mm-hmm. Back in the 1970s, there was a company called Playtex.
Okay.
Playtex made living bras, living girdles, and living gloves to wash dishes with.
Okay.
And those commercials were on night and day. So it was a point of information everybody had.
Right.
So this is the first joke I wrote for myself, more or less of joke. It's been a long time.
Okay.
I told the audience I'm 17. I don't really have a father, but now that I'm, appearing in nightclubs and becoming a man about town, my mother is concerned for me. And she keeps telling me I need to have protection. Well, I finally kind of sort of figured out what she meant. And I cut off all the fingers of her Playtex living glove. It didn't help my sex life any, but I became the first kid on the block with dishpan penis.
Awesome. Awesome.
See, people thought the joke was over at cutting off the fingers, and I get a little laugh. And then the dishpan penis thing was the topper of it. And that's how I started, that I could talk about sexual things, but I never use the swear words. I use the real grown-up words that we use when we're discussing these kinds of things. And then eventually, I hope I'm not offending anyone out there, but I'm gay, and I saw no reason not to be on stage. I didn't want to be a professional homosexual. Right. I wanted to have a comedic point of view. Mm-hmm. I might have been the first openly gay male stand-up guy. No. Not entirely sure. There's a few of us who think we were first, and there's no way of telling. Yeah. But I started doing stand-up in 1977. Yeah. And I don't know that anyone precedes that as far as that, as a teenager. Mm-hmm. There are several of us. Eddie Murphy was one also, who got started as teenagers. Yeah. And you gotta have courage, and you gotta have just burning
Yeah.
ambition,
Yeah.
because your competition is huge.
Absolutely.
I just burned better than others.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, I've gotten a lot of, just even from my show alone, from a lot of people, praise not using my sexuality as a forefront to bring the podcast to live and use that as a jumping board. So doing that is like, it's respectable. You know what I mean? Like, if you see, like, for example, Kevin James, he does the fat jokes all the time because he's fat. And it's like, okay, that's fine and dandy, and they are funny, but when do they become too much? Because you know what I mean? Like, kind of get out of your box a little bit too. And you know what I mean? Like, what do you recommend about getting out of your box? Like, how do you recommend that? And if so, how do people do that comfortably?
There's nothing wrong with having an image.
Right.
um my image has become, through the years, all of the sparkly sequin, sparkly
Right.
stuff, and I didn't put any jewelry for this, but usually I have stuff on.
Right.
Now, if I wasn't, as we used to say, on the air with you right now, I wouldn't be wearing this stuff. This is
Right.
my Geoffrey Mark drag.
Right.
There's nothing, I think everybody who wants a professional career has to have, not, if not a character, you have to have a recognizable brand, if that makes sense to those folks out there. That, oh, that guy, even if they don't know your name. Oh, you. I was having lunch a couple of months ago with Wink Martindale, the very, very famous game show host, and his wife. And we were in a very fancy restaurant out here in Palm Springs, probably the most expensive one. And there had been, I guess, a group of people in the back having a private meal. And they came out, and when they saw us sitting there, one by one, they came over and fawning over Wink, because everybody grew up with him. It was like, Wink Martindale, and pointing to me. Oh, and you're here. Meaning they didn't quite remember my name, but they knew who I was.
Right.
So that's who I am. I'm you're here. But because I am recognizable. A good comedian has more than one hook. You can't have an entire career just out of fat jokes.
Yeah.
The people who have done it, Toady Fields, Fat Jack Leonard, they honed it to a science, but they also had other things in their act. Just like Rodney Dangerfield wasn't only about not getting respect. He had other things in his act too. So I think it's good to have a brand. It's good to have something people recognize, but you can't do the same jokes forever. Because eventually your audience will have heard them all. Bless her heart. Maybe the hardest working stand-up in the period where I've been alive was Joan Rivers.
Okay.
Now, I saw Joan work a lot. And yeah, she had set pieces, but there was always something new. And sometimes you'd go to see her, and you'd go to see her again the next year, and she didn't repeat one thing from last time. Ella Fitzgerald is a jazz singer. She wouldn't have an act. She would sing whatever she felt like singing that evening. And to that end, she had over 300 arrangements in her book ready for her to pull from, to do what she felt that evening. I admire that. And I do the same thing. I don't have one set of songs when I sing. I do what I feel like doing out of what I have. So you cannot be a one-trick pony. And last long. Now, a 5-year career, you can have one set of stuff, sing one set of songs, do one set of very good jokes, or get on a sitcom and be a character actor for 5 years. But if you want a long career, you have to be versatile. I mean, I sing, I used to dance. I don't dance, don't ask me. I used to dance, but I did plays, I did music, you know. People make fun when I say I wear many hats in show business. I'm a talk show host. I'm a radio host. Because if one isn't paying, the other one will. Or if I get bored with one, I won't be bored with the other. Even my coffee, I use different brands. I don't want to be bored in my life. And I never, ever want to bore anybody else. And I said that with my eyes as wide apart as I can with a black eye.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, we get one life. We get one chance at this journey we call life. Make it as fabulous, make it as fun, and make it as interesting as you can.
Like, for instance, where did you come up with slasher, Scotty?
So, and that's actually a beautiful question. You might know the answer to this, but I started it because I am a big 80s horror movie fan, Friday the 13th, Halloween, all that. And I wanted to just interview them people. That was it. I just wanted to interview the Friday the 13th, Halloween, people that I watched growing up. And that was it. And I started because I
have held Chucky in my hands.
Yeah, right? So,
seriously.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I wanted to do, like just interview those people. And I started with, when I had my first interview with Greg Gilbert, I got the idea of interviewing people through him when he interviewed me. And then I just wanted to interview these people that I grew up watching. And I thought to myself, you know what? It's great interviewing them people, but I'm going to interview them people. I'm going to get as many as I possibly can. And then I'm either going to have to re-interview them or not interview anybody else at all, because eventually I'm going to run out. Either they're not going to want to do the interview. I'm going to already have interviewed them and be, talking about a lot of the same stuff, or they passed away because the movies were in the 80s and a lot of them are older. So eventually I'm going to run out of people. So I'm like, I need to expand. So I went into other horror movies. Then I went into soap operas like Days of Our Lives and professional wrestlers, because I'm a wrestling fan. And I went into musicians and authors.
I have several friends from Days of Our Lives, and several friends who were professional wrestlers back in the olden days. Because I'm from New York originally. Well, this is a topic you probably weren't expecting. The professional wrestlers, when they hit New York, went to the same gym the gay porn performers did.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So I used to hang out at that gym.
Nice.
And I got to be friendly with both sets of people. The wrestlers were so happy to have somebody who didn't expect them to be their public persona, because they're actors, basically, who are in good shape, who are athletes, but
sports entertainers, basically.
They're more like dancers than they are athletes.
Yeah.
And the gay porn guys were happy to have someone who wanted to talk with them, have dinner with them.
Yeah.
So, and then some of them were the same people. Some of the wrestlers actually did gay porn. And yeah, I got jiggy with a couple of them, but more importantly, I got to know them as people. But and then I've got one very close friend, Wesley Yore from Days of Our Lives, who played Michael Horton on that show for many years. Interviewing is an art, and so is being a guest.
Yeah.
I must do, I don't think I'm exaggerating, 100 of these shows a year, more or less.
Yeah.
So it's been thousands through the years.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get hosts who have done some homework. They know who you are. They know what you've done, and they try to ask not just intelligent questions, but interesting questions.
Yeah. And
then you're on shows with people who have read what my publicist has given them as a press release. That's all they know. Yeah. That's all the work they've done. And that's usually when I take over. I let them ask a question. So what's it like being Geoffrey Mark? I go, oh, here we go. And I just very subtly take over the show and don't let them speak again until the show is over.
Right.
I ask myself the questions. I give them the answers. I make them laugh because I always want to entertain. See, I'm happy to be with you, you handsome devil, but I am concerned with the folks watching us. Yes. And those are the people I want to entertain you and maybe give you some good information and let you know a little bit about who I am. But So it's an art both ways. And then there are
Yeah.
people, when I have been the host, you ask them a question and it's like they didn't hear you. They've got stock answers. And that's all they're going to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ethel Merman was like that. No matter what show she was on or who asked the questions, she had 5 or 6 stock answers. And they were word for word, like she had learned a script.
Wow.
Rarely was she spontaneous in giving people real answers.
Yeah. It's really crazy. I had Teo Pendulis and Andre Tony DeMera from Days of Our Lives. I had him on my show a couple of weeks ago or so, and he was a great guest. And he even gave me storylines that he did, because I mean, I've been watching Days since '95, but he's been on, for a long while, and he mentioned storylines that I didn't remember, because a huge history of what he's done. And I'm like, wow, I forgot about that storyline. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. It's a shame what's happening to Days of Our Lives.
It is.
It's, for those of you who don't know, Days of Our Lives is a soap opera that's been on NBC daytime television since 1965. And it is going off of NBC and on to Peacock.
Yep.
My idea for Days, because it is so convoluted. Oh gosh. So we're gonna geek out now for about 2 minutes, guys. So let us geek out. If you don't like Days, I promise we're gonna change the subject. If you like Days, geek out with us.
Right.
So the original Days of Our Lives was about Dr. Horton and his wife, their children and grandchildren. That's all Days was about.
Yeah.
When it expanded to an hour, they brought in another family, the Brady family, to give them more characters to fill an hour.
Yeah.
Well, what Days has always done is so-and-so is a child, then about 6 months later, they're a teenager, then about a year later, they're 17.
Yep.
And they start having romances and making babies.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, that is called SORAS, soap opera rapid aging syndrome, or something like that.
So what happened is Frances, the woman who played the matriarch,
Alice,
before she passed away, was a great grandmother on the show, if you were catching this stuff. And today, young fans who have only been watching the last 5 or 10 years, they don't even know who the Hortons really are, or why the Bradys are involved with the Hortons. Or I think they should wipe the slate clean and start over again. I think they need to go back to day one with Dr. and Mrs. Horton, get some of the beloved actors who are currently in the show to play the original characters. And I think that way you don't have to worry about new viewers figuring out how everyone is related to everyone else, and because it almost doesn't make sense anymore.
Right. And I will let you know, and a lot of the new viewers that are watching Days, they can go back now to the very beginning, because when Peacock, Days is off NBC and on Peacock, and it's the paying platform now, they're going to have every single episode from 1965 onward airing.
Well, I might have to pay for that then. I started watching Days in '74 when I went to college.
Yep.
And boy, was I hooked. And I was hooked by Wesley York and Susan Seaforth Hayes, who has become a friend. So I know Bill and Susan, and I know several of the people through the years who have been.
I would love to have them on my show. I love Bill and Susan. Oh my God. I interviewed Nancy McLaughlin, and she said she went to Bible school with them.
We had books coming out at the same time a few years ago, and I was happy to be on a publicity tour with them. What lovely people.
That's awesome.
Talented, and they're just as nice as you would hope they would be, as is Wes. Wesley is a very, very dear, close friend of mine.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's lovely when you meet people who are that talented, who really are as nice as they seem. Not everybody is, but a lot of I'll say us, a lot of us are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that, like, and this is how strange Days of Our Lives is, but I first got into the show because I was homesick from school. Probably really wasn't sick. I don't remember, but I probably was faking it. Um, but I was home from school. My mom was watching Days. It was like 1 o'clock or whatever afternoon, and I came down from my room and asked my mom what she'd watch. It goes Days, and I'm looking at the TV, just seeing what it was, and the first thing I see is Marlena, and she turns into a panther because she was possessed by the
Ah,
devil for the first time. So that's what got me there. But my favorite storyline, a lot of people hated this, was the Salem Stalker,
which
because
which time?
the 2003, 2004, when they all
They
ended
did
up
it.
alive on Mel Oswin.
They did it 4 times before
Yeah.
that.
Yep. Salem Strangler, I remember. I don't remember watching it, but I read all about that.
Salem Slasher.
Oh, Slasher. Yep.
So yeah, Days has revisited the same storylines over and over
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And
You know when they're running out of material when they do the devil possession storyline 20 years later, to the same person, and then but this time the devil can body jump. So
or when people are getting pregnant a lot because they
yes.
got nothing else to write about. That's why I'm saying
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with going back to the beginning and reimagining things.
Yeah.
There's almost 60 years of scripts there.
Yeah.
They don't have to keep coming up with brand new things.
Right.
They can go back and anyway, that's not going to happen, obviously, but
Yeah.
that's my wish for Days, because I believe Days was the best soap opera ever.
Yeah.
And the only one that I cared enough about to watch, I haven't seen it in years, and every once in a while I'll look at it,
Yeah.
and I'll recognize a character or two, and then I'm trying to figure out who are all these young people,
Right.
whose child or grandchild or great grandchild
Or great grandchild.
right.
Yeah, but if you do have Xfinity, Comcast, Peacock is free, so you can check if you are a Days fan and don't remember all the past storylines, or you would like to revisit a past storyline, they will be available on, and Xfinity Comcast does pay include the paid package, the version with ads, not with the one without. But yeah, you can check that out.
Okay, enough. They should, Sony should give us money for this, because
exactly right.
we're giving them this huge commercial and we're getting nothing out of it. So
right. So do you write your own music though, for being a jazz, when you do your jazz songs? You don't write your own?
I will occasionally write lyrics. I've written some songs where I've written the lyrics. I don't write melodies. I've never tried to, let's put it that way.
Okay.
So since I've never tried to, that tells me my talent is not calling me to do that.
Okay.
I sing what Ella Fitzgerald named the Great American Songbook.
Okay.
Ella Fitzgerald absolutely the greatest jazz singer who ever lived. And her manager, Norman Granz, felt she wasn't getting her due. She was very well known, but she was well known for a Tisket a Tasket and for scat singing. She hadn't had big hits with great songs.
Okay.
So he eventually bought her contract away from Decca. Decca Records had been her record label for 20 years.
Okay.
And got the idea to have her sing, and the album was called Ella Fitzgerald Sings the Cole Porter Songbook.
Okay.
In those days, a 2 LP set.
Okay.
Well, it changed her entire career and her entire life, because she served the songs well. She didn't take them and just use them as a vehicle for jazz singing. She took her talent and infused it with the songs. Yeah. Well, then it was Ella sings the Rodgers and Hart songbook, and Ella sings the Duke Ellington songbook, and the Irving Berlin, and the Harold Arlen, and her last one was the Antonio Carlos Jobim songbook in the 70s, late 70s. So this entire concept that my friend Michael Feinstein has of the Great American Songbook really it started with Ella. And that's what I do. I go back and I do those songs that speak to my talent, that speak to my heart, and hopefully you guys out there like them.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned, you also have books out. So what books do you have out? What are they about? And where can they be bought?
Well, buy them from me. I'll make more money that way. I have two books I've written about Ella Fitzgerald.
Nice.
The latest one was just, Ella.
Hmm.
I've written Ethel Merman, the biggest star on Broadway.
Okay.
Now, you guys out there who like show business insider stories, that one, just the story about her 48-hour marriage to Ernest Borgnine is worth the price of the book.
Wow. Wow.
So there is that. And then the one I think has maybe the most famous as a writer is the Lucy book.
Okay.
Lucy book came out about 20 years ago. It's a compendium of every time Miss Ball appeared on television, from early live television until her death, with interviews with hundreds and hundreds of people. It's everything. Game shows, talk shows, variety shows, her shows. And coming out next year is the new Lucy book. And that has new interviews with people like Carol Burnett and Anne Margaret and Rich Little. And I'm adding in all the radio shows I can find and all the films. So it'll be her entire career in the same format, with a new forward by Fran Drescher.
Awesome. That's amazing. I love Fran Drescher. Oh my God.
Yeah, the original book had forwards by Steve Allen.
Nice.
And Lucy Arnaz and Desi Arnaz Jr. They're still going to be there, but
Right.
for the new book. So it's not just the same book updated. I'm taking the best of what was there and greatly making it larger. So it's going to be a great big coffee table sized book just to fit all this in.
Awesome.
And we're going to have hundreds of pictures in it. So
That's great.
Lucy fans, I promise you're going to like it. And it's authorized by her estate, which is even better.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
I'm an amazing man. That's why you have me here.
I know, right? And Lucille Ball, such a talent. I mean, just a talent. Like, well, I don't know her as a person, but I know her from her acting ability alone, and she is so talented.
I don't speak to Miss Ball's personal life in public ever.
Right.
There have been plenty of terrible books written about her personal life. That's why I wrote the Lucy book originally. It's like, we don't love her because of her personal life. We love her because of her work.
Yeah.
So although I've gleaned a lot of information about her personal life, I have, and I'm not bragging, I have literally turned down $500,000 to write what I know about the Arnaz family. It's never going to happen.
Right.
Why in the world would I bite the hand of such lovely people?
Yeah.
Miss Ball was good to me. Lucy Arnaz is this incredible earth mother of a person who is wise and loving and nurturing. I adore her. She's been so good to me. Desi Jr. has been so good to me. The children, their children have been so good to me. Why in the world would I want to do anything that would harm them?
Right. And if you could, and if anybody watching this can prove to me that you can find one person that doesn't have some type of history in their personal life, I'll take out a loan of $1 million and give it to you, because you can't find it.
Scotty, when I do live shows, I do Q&A also. Inevitably, I'm asked about her. Is it really true? Blah, 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 blah. Well, the first thing I ask is, why do you need to know that?
Right. Absolutely.
And the answer I give, and I'll keep giving it till I stop asking, go into your neighborhood, knock on any door, immediately inject them with truth serum, sit them down and ask them about their romantic, sexual, and family history. And you're going to get the same stories you would hear about these people, except there won't be as many famous names involved.
Yeah.
I think the only part of recounting the whole Ball Arnaz family where it's really interesting is the Arnaz family's escape from Cuba with the Batista Revolution. It's a fascinating story of loss and overcoming incredible odds to not only just survive, but here is somebody who I call him the Prince of Cuba. He was really being groomed to be the next big guy there, who ends up living in a warehouse with rats in Miami, and from there ends up being one of the most famous human beings on the planet, the executive producer and co-star of one of the most famous television shows ever, and the owner of the biggest movie studio in the world.
Wow.
That trajectory fascinates me.
Yeah.
But who any of these people slept with, or what their personal problems were, or why they would argue or not, I don't care.
Right. And that's why, like, when you were talking about Lucille Ball, the thought of asking about her personal life never came to my mind to ask, because it's not my business. It's not the viewer's business. It's literally, it's nobody's business. Like, everybody either makes mistakes, or they have a past, or they have a personal life. And what they do in their personal life is their own private business.
I know I'm asked about my sex life publicly. And some of it I've chosen. People know that I had a partner named Joel Kabik, and that we never lived together, but we were together since I was 13. They know he died 3 years ago. I've let it be known that I had a little bit of a, I don't know what you'd call it, with Freddie Mercury, that we spent some lovely time together alone. There are other famous people I have spent some lovely time with you're not going to hear about, because they have children, or they had wives, or it's none of your business.
Exactly.
But like, what I enjoy doing in bed is no one's business. It's like, people ask, I've been asked that. It's like, why? Do you want to have a date with me? Is that why you're asking? If you do, ask me out to dinner and you'll get the answer. If you're asking because you're nosy,
bye.
Yeah.
Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. I completely agree with you. So the last question I do got for you.
No, not the last question.
I know, right? I had so much fun during this interview, though, and I did learn so much.
Well, let it go a little long. Hey, don't you guys want this? Yeah, they're all telling me they want this to go longer.
Absolutely. Do you have anything at all that you would like to promote to the listening viewing audience? Do you have social media accounts, websites, any appearances coming up, any performances you have coming up, any books, anything at all?
Well, isn't that a fascinating question? Well, I have no books coming out right now. Next year, you're going to see the new Lucy book.
Okay.
You're going to see my memoirs called The Devil Was Born in Brooklyn, which is copyrighted. If you steal it, I will sue you. You're going to see a book I'm writing with Wink Martindale and his wife, Sandy, coming out.
Nice.
You're going to see Geoffrey Mark Sings the Ella Fitzgerald Songbook, a CD coming out. That's next year. This year, I would love for you to tune in every week to Geoffrey Mark Plays Ella. It's on radio stations, it's on the internet, and it's available as a podcast on every major platform.
Awesome.
So that's what's happening in the moment. I am tinkering with the idea of doing a talk show on YouTube. And if I do that, I'll let you know. And I'll be promoting that when it happens. Awesome. So the books and the radio show and the CD, but the radio show is what's happening right now. And we'd like you to tune in.
Absolutely. And definitely let me know when you have that talk show on YouTube as well. I'll definitely be a listener on that, because I love hearing you talk, and I think you have a talk show alone would be so amazing. I think you bring so many different topics and categories and themes to that, and so many interesting perspectives about each topic that you were to talk about. And I mean, I think it's amazing. You are a wise guy, and you are a very talented, interesting guy, and I really like talking to you, and I definitely want to do this interview again as well.
I'm a lucky guy, if you'll allow me a couple of extra minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Take the time you need.
You know, God made me intelligent. I did nothing to deserve that.
Right.
I can't take a bow for being smart.
Yeah.
I would tell you what my IQ is, but I don't want to embarrass you. But it's in the genius category.
Nice.
It's nice, except on its own, it means nothing.
Right.
God made me talented. Well, again, I can't take a bow for what I was born with anymore. I can take a bow for being a redhead. It's how I was born originally.
Right.
How I use these talents, I can take a bow for. And I'm lucky in that I knew true love at 13. How many people can say that?
Yeah.
I had a relationship for over 4 decades. Okay, 47 years. Joel and I were together. It's a long, long time.
Yeah.
We never lived together, and he married women, and I had other relationships away from him only because he wasn't available to me all the time.
Right.
So that's a unique perspective.
Yeah.
I know almost everybody in show business. So getting guests is easy. I know their histories. I know who they are as people. So I can have real, not interview conversations, but real conversations.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'm good at that.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. I love show people. I love talent. I love to be around talented people. I love to be around intelligent people. Those are the kinds of folks I try to surround myself with.
Yeah.
Another thing that's not a secret at all is that I'm 33 years clean and sober.
Nice.
So I have thank you. I
Yep.
have my drug years to look back on and all I've learned in sobriety all these years. And I hope I take all of that and share that with audiences and friends and people who care.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends. I have, bless their hearts, the sentence just, I have millions of fans.
Yeah.
The idea that millions and millions of people have either heard me sing or seen me on television or seen me in the movies or have listened to my radio shows or read a book I've written or have seen me because I'm on with nice people like you, you sexy devil.
Thank you. I appreciate that compliment.
I am. Oh, if you live near me, we'd be having dinner tonight.
Well, I appreciate it.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all that I have been given.
Thank you.
I live a life of gratitude, and maybe that shows in how I come across. So I'm lucky.
Yeah. It's absolutely you've been given one life and you've taken the best, the best of it. You've been making what you can out of your life, and that's all anybody can do.
Yep.
And how you want to live it is how you decide to live it. You have one life, you make it into what you want to make it. If you want to make it into, into a happy life or not so happy life, you get to
happiness is a choice.
Yeah, it really is.
Happiness does not happen to one. Happiness is, oh, I'm going to choose to be happy here.
Right.
It's just like the word love. Yeah. Love is not an emotion.
Right.
Oh, you can feel love. I'm not saying you can't. But love is a behavior.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't tell me you love me and then treat me like garbage.
Yeah.
If you don't tell me you love me, but you treat me lovingly, I know that you love me.
Yep. And I always say that, like, it's nice to hear that you love me, but it's another thing when you show me how you love me, because if you show me that you love me, then I know you really love me. But if you are gonna beat me, or if you're going to call me names, or if when we get in an argument, you're gonna say hurtful things, even if you don't mean it because you're angry at me, that's not love. I mean, I get emotion, anger and emotions are a thing, but when you love somebody, you don't say something that is so hurtful to them and bring their past up against them. You have to show somebody how you love them. And arguments are healthy in a relationship.
Because you're just talking about words also. I'm talking about does someone rub your shoulders when you're tired? Does
Right.
someone understand you had a
Yeah.
bad day?
Yeah.
Does someone cook a meal for you
Yeah.
or arrange for a birthday special, something to happen for
Right.
you? Or
On a random Wednesday in August, maybe you can get you have a bouquet of roses that were delivered to your job. And it's like, oh, who gave me these? Oh, well, that's very nice.
so I try. I'm not saying I succeed,
Mm-hmm.
but I try really hard to be a blessing to anybody I happen to come across. Even
Absolutely.
as a guest on shows like this. Yes, it's to promote me, and yes, it's because you asked,
Yeah.
but I want to be a blessing to you.
Yeah.
I want to feel like I've blessed you in some way today. And
Yeah.
all the people who are watching and listening, that they feel a little blessed too. I kind of live for that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I really do thank you for joining me. I had a blast, and I'm sure everybody else had a blast. I'm not gonna hold my breath, but I'm gonna wait to see if my royalties come in from Sony. But we'll see. maybe I'll at least maybe they'll give me a special thanks to Slasher Scotty on the Peacock credits if I'm lucky.
I hope you will not hold your breath for that.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so
Because
much.
I don't think turning purple is your best color.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having
Absolutely.
me on here. And as I always say to everybody when I'm finished talking,
Okay.
God bless and have a happy.
Absolutely. You have a great rest of your day, Jeff. All right. Bye.